Greetings. Welcome to QueenElle79. This is Queen Elle. I'm so happy that you joined me today. If you see any smoke, I have my yerba Santa burning here. And I just wanted to dive right in. So this is a video that I have mentioned on several previous videos. I said that it was coming, so we're finally here. I wanted to give a breakdown of the tarot deck and how the cards are structured within the tarot deck. So I'm using or demonstrating with two tarot decks today just to show you the difference in them. There are just some minor nuances. I will say that most tarot decks today, so there's a difference between tarot decks versus oracle decks, and I can do a video on that in the future as well. But as far as tarot decks go, I will say that there are some rather unique tarot decks out there, but for the most part, tarot decks are traditionally based off of the original Rider-Waite tarot deck, and that actually was one of my first videos. I did an unboxing of that deck. That was my first deck, and I'll show you what the box looks like for this one. So this is I have the Universal Waite Tarot deck. There is the original Rider-Waite Tarot deck is what it's called today. And I have some notes here in my planner. So if you see me looking over, I'm just making sure that I'm hitting all of the points that I wanted to address today, okay? So I will say first that tarot, the art of tarot, the practice of tarot, it originated based off of historians' information. It originated around the 14th, late 14th, early 15th centuries in what most people will say is northern Italy as the origination of tarot. Of course, there's no true way to know for sure, but that's just what many historians will say. And it traveled south from Italy, then it traveled further on into Europe. And there are some historians that may say it had its roots in, southern of Europe, Africa specifically. It just really depends on the source that you're reading. So there are some people who mention an Egyptian influence as well. So it just really depends. Now, the Rider-Waite deck, it started with Dr. Arthur Edward Waite. I want to make sure I say his name correctly. And he started developing this deck over years. It has the illustration from Pamela Coleman Smith, and she did the illustrations for the cards in 1909, and then the deck was finally published in 1910. Now that's the original publication of the original Rider-Waite deck, and a lot of people will call it the Waite-Smith deck in order to give Pamela Coleman Smith her accolades for being so adept at the illustrative aspect of the deck, because that is ultimately, while Dr. Waite was the author of the deck, Pamela Smith, she's the one who gave life to the cards, and that's what we're most familiar with today. So that's the first deck. The other deck I'll be showing today when I just go over some of the cards when I give the breakdown is my Modern Witch Tarot deck. I did an unboxing on this one recently, and as you all probably know by now if you've seen any of my other videos, I love this deck. I truly do. It's so inclusionary. It's so diverse. Not just the fact that it completely represents women. There are women representing all of the images that are on all of the cards. Not just that, but there are diverse women. And so there are women of all different ethnicities, different shades of melanin for all of the women of color. I just love it, and I feel like it's rather unique in that way. And it's also, as the title of the deck states, it's a very modern take on, you could tell that it obviously gleans from the Rider-Waite tarot deck, but it really is modern in the depiction of the images. So I'll show that as well. Let me light my Yerba Santa again. I mentioned on another video when I had it burning some of the properties of it. So I will say that people are most familiar with burning sage or Palo Santo. And the Yerba Santa, it specifically aids in healing, and also more specifically with regard to respiratory issues. And so, as you all may or may not know, about a week ago, or a little more than a week ago, I had lost my voice, and it was from a respiratory infection that I feel like I had. I will say that just based off of doing my own research, I believe I probably had bronchitis. And so I'm still healing from that. And I actually had my sage out to burn for this video. And then I thought about it. I had a cough, and I thought, you know what? Let me burn my Yerba Santa, because I know that for me, the more that I talk, it will cause me to cough. Otherwise, I'm not coughing much at all throughout the day. But I thought, okay, if this will help with my respiratory issues right now, then, that's even better. So, because I definitely like talking, and I like talking to you. So anyway, so just to give you a bit more information, so that's the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. I will tell you that, and I've mentioned this on some other videos, so the tarot deck has 78 cards traditionally. You may find some unique tarot decks that may have less cards. They may have, and I'll tell you the breakdown of the deck shortly, but they may have maybe 56 cards versus the 78, and I'll explain why. When you venture out into oracle decks, they are even more unique and require you to really be tapping into your intuition and the spirit guides, as well as the ancestral realm, wherever you're getting your additional insight from, because those cards, typically in my experience, they don't really give a specific breakdown of, okay, when you see these types of cards, this is what it means. You really have to use your intuition to guide you with regard to what the cards are actually saying, especially when you have a spread and you're looking, trying to see, piece it together and, make it make sense. So anyway, that's that. Now, the breakdown of the cards. So I did mention the 78 cards in the deck, and that's the traditional deck. Now, the breakdown is there are 56 cards that are in what's called the minor arcana, and 22 cards in the major arcana. Now, arcana is spelled A-R-C as in cat, A-N as in Nancy, A, arcana. Now, the word arcana, hold on one moment. I want to make sure that I give it to you straight, because there is a meaning for the word arcana. Okay, so the definition of arcana is secrets or mysteries. Okay, and I will tell you that dictionary, or the Oxford Dictionary, is pronouncing it arcana, and I've heard it pronounced different ways: arcana, arcana. So, tomato, tomato, but it means secrets or mysteries. So there are the major arcana and the minor arcana. Excuse me. Now, the major arcana, they go from 0, and you'll see some numbers in Roman numerals at the top of the cards. This is not consistent in every tarot deck, but the decks that I am showing you today, they do have Roman numerals at the top of the cards, and they go, in the major arcana, they go from 0 to 21. So that's 22 cards. Again, that's the major arcana. Now, the example I wanted to show, because these cards, as the name states, being major arcana, they cover the major important life events. So whenever one of these cards pops up when you're doing a reading or any type of specific spread, if it's a major arcana card, that means that there is a major event taking place. Now, the way that I have researched it and everything, major arcana, it is a transition and a progression. So it starts with the 0. Now, this is the universal weight tarot deck. It starts with 0, like I said, and this is the Fool. Okay, and so what some people will say is the major arcana is known as the Fool's journey. So this is this individual and their journey throughout life. And it's not necessarily a journey with a culmination being death at the end of the journey, but just a journey throughout life, just a progression like we all go through. And the Fool's journey, if we want to call it that, the first card being the Fool, as you see, the Fool is carefree and happy-go-lucky, which is okay. But the only thing is, as you see at the bottom of the card, he is just effortlessly about to walk off of a cliff. And he has this little dog who's looking up at him and not paying attention either. So there's a lot that you can read into that. On one hand, it's a very new beginning, and that's exciting to embark on a new journey. But also, you have to practice discernment and caution and wisdom as far as the steps that you take. Okay, so there's that. And then this is the Modern Witch. This is the Modern Witch card for the Fool. And as you see, it still has that 0 at the top. It's still depicting someone that's carefree and getting ready to walk off of a cliff. There's still the little dog. And then it has the name at the bottom. So all tarot decks do not have the words at the bottom. Some of them, like I said, can be pretty abstract, where they may not have either a number at the top or a name at the bottom. And you really just have to look at the image and understand what it means to you, basically, as the reader. So this is the beginning of that journey for the major arcana. And then the culmination of that journey. So again, this is the universal weight card, and this is the World. So all of the cards have some type of name for what that part of the journey, that aspect of the journey represents. And so this one, as you see, it has 21 at the top, because I said it goes from 0 to 21, and then the World at the bottom. And I like the universal weight cards. I will say that because I don't possess one of the original Rider-Waite tarot decks, from the research I did when I purchased this deck, I read that this deck has more vivid images than the original Rider-Waite deck. And so I was glad to embark on my tarot journey with this deck. I'll say, though, here is the Modern Witch take on the World. So obviously, like I said, there are, well, both of these are women, but where with the Rider-Waite decks, there are several images of women. The queens, which I'll tell you about how the minor arcana are split up and how they work, but there are the queens. And then there's like a card like this. There are just a couple others where there's a woman depicted on the card. So like I said, this one is the Modern Witch version. And the World, it basically means not necessarily a cycle reaching completion, but it's more so reaching a peak of that journey. It's a great card to receive because as you see the infinity symbol, and on the universal weight deck, there's the also infinity, but it's not as blatant as with the Modern Witch. It's just a different take on that card. So there's representation of the 4 elements and some of the zodiac signs, and it really means that you're reaching the pinnacle of your journey, and it could be different for every person. I mean, we all have a different journey, a different path in our lives. So it doesn't mean that you've reached just the end of your journey. it means that you may have reached the peak of a specific phase of your life, a specific chapter of your life. So, and that's where when you have multiple cards in a spread, you're able to layer them and add a bit of clarity to the reading that you give. Okay, so that's the major arcana. I just wanted to give you a representation of that to show you the from the Fool to the World, to just show you how that journey goes. And then we get to the minor arcana. Now, the minor arcana, I will say that those cards, so there are 56, they are pretty consistent with the, if you're familiar with playing cards, there are 10 cards that are numbered 1 through 10, and then there are court cards. Now, they're divided into 4 suits, and so you know how with playing cards, there are 4 suits that these cards are divided between. In the tarot deck, the 4 suits are Pentacles, Wands, Cups, and Swords. And then there are the cards that are 1 through 10 for each of those. And then the court cards, the difference between the tarot deck and a playing deck of cards is the playing cards, you know that there's the Jack, Queen, and King. But in the tarot deck, there is the Page, Knight, Queen, and King. So there are 4 members of the court in the tarot deck, okay? Now, I did pull several cards, again, just to give you a representation and to help give a bit of insight. And let's see. Well, first, I just want to dive into the minor arcana a bit more. So the even though the suits are the Pentacles, Cups, Wands, and Swords, there are people who will liken each of those to a specific element, and each of those suits has a specific area of your life that it typically reflects or represents. So for the Pentacles, they represent earth. The Cups represent water. The Wands represent fire. Nope, Swords represent fire. And no, I was right the first time. Wands represent fire and Swords represent air. So again, they correlate with the 4 elements, and also they represent, like I said, different aspects of yourself. So Cups, they are more, since they represent water, they also represent your emotions and your feelings. The Swords represent your intellect, your mental state, your thoughts. The Wands represent your ambition, your ideas, your did I miss anything? Your passion as well. And Swords represent, no, I said mental. Okay. Pentacles, I just want to stay on track. Pentacles represent your finances. They represent power. Sometimes they represent money, but it's mainly your work, your power, because a lot of people glean power from their sense of ability with their work and their skills. So when you pull cards specific to those suits, then that's generally what the cards are talking about. That's what the cards mean. Okay. And it's just a matter of tying them together. And then you may have a spread that has cards from multiple suits, and then it's just a matter of piecing it together. I liken it to a jigsaw puzzle. So that's kind of how I feel when I'm looking at a spread that I've pulled. So that's what they all represent. Now, there were several cards that really struck me when I was going through them this evening, and I just wanted to show you those. So this will be a major arcana card. This is Justice, and as you see, there is the number numeral 11 at the top of the card. So it's still going along that Fool's journey from 0 to 21. So this is 11. So this is about the halfway point. So this is the Justice card, and this is that Universal Weight tarot deck. And it looks just like it sounds, like what you would think with the term justice. So there's that one. And then, as you can see, and I'll actually show you the cards side by side too. So then you see this one is the Modern Witch card. And this one is, as you see, it's a woman. Like I said, the Modern Witch deck has all women. And then, but it's basically depicting the same thing. So I feel like it's still maintaining the integrity of the original Rider-Waite author and what their intent was for the tarot deck. So there's that one, and then one that I like to look at, but it is a very volatile card, if you will. So this one's the Five of Wands. And so another thing is, just like how with the major arcana cards, there are words at the bottom, the minor arcana cards, what I've noticed is, so this is the Modern Witch card, and you see it says Five of Wands on the bottom, but there's no number at the top. Where the Universal Weight Tarot deck, there is the number at the top, but no words on the bottom. So you'll notice a bit of a difference. It just varies from deck to deck. But the one thing that is true of both of them is you see Five Wands, and they're branches, but they are called wands in the sense of the tarot deck. So it's a battle. It's a true battle. You're at odds. It's like a war going on. And so I'll hold them up a bit closer so you can see there are women on that Modern Witch card, and then there are men on the Universal Weight card. So that's one that I wanted to show you. Then finally, my card that I love, it's my birth card. My life path or birth number is 3, and I'll link a video so that you can learn about that. And also, here are the cards. So that correlates to the Empress. And so both of these cards have the 3 at the top. This is the Universal Weight Tarot card, and this one is the Modern Witch Tarot card. Both of them say the Empress at the bottom, and they look a lot alike. I mean, obviously the women do not favor each other. However, the depiction of the cards is similar. They're both facing, sitting the same way. They both have a headdress. They both look regal. They both look, in my opinion, very badass, and very powerful, and very very fruitful, if you will, just full of abundance. That's the feeling that I get from these cards. So I wanted to show you those as well. And let me just make sure. Okay, another thing, just like how I mentioned that the major arcana represents the major life events, the minor arcana, they are really honing in. You think of something at a macro or a micro level, the minor arcana really hone in on the daily trials that we go through, the daily issues that weigh on us. And so they kind of tackle those, and that's why there's that breakdown of the elements. There's also the breakdown through the cards of your emotions versus your intellect versus your ideas and creativity versus your work and your finances. You'll see a lot of, self-worth or lack thereof in some of the cards. You'll see a lot of turmoil in some of the cards. It really just depends, but I love how the cards are so detailed that when you're doing a spread, even if it's just a few cards in the spread, you really can hone in on, especially tapping into your intuition, which is really what this is all about. But you're able to really hone in on the message that you're being given from the spirit guides and from the ancestral realm. So that's where the minor arcana, that's what it focuses on. And then the major arcana, it's that overarching theme of the major life events that we go through. So that is the breakdown of the tarot deck. I promised you that I would do it. I'm so glad that I was able to accomplish that. If you have any questions about the tarot deck, or would like me to go over some oracle decks, please feel free to reach out to me and let me know. I do daily card pulls on my Facebook and Instagram pages. Facebook is the same as my YouTube. It's QueenElle79. Also, Instagram is Queen_Elle_79. And if you are interested in a reading or an astrological chart plus interpretation of it, please feel free to reach out to me on my Facebook page, QueenElle79. I have services listed there. Again, if you have any questions at all, just about life, if you need any additional guidance, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. That is truly what I'm here for. But I thank you again. I thank you so much for joining me today. I would like to welcome you if this is your first time watching one of my videos. Welcome. Welcome to QueenElle79. Welcome to the family. If it's not, I'd like to say welcome back. Thank you so much for revisiting me again. And I look forward to speaking to you in the future. Ashe. Have a great evening. Good night. Blessings.